Buying a house in the UK can feel like solving a Rubik's Cube backward in the dark. Between rising prices, hidden costs, confusing terms, and delay, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But if you're serious about buying your first home, this video is going to walk you through every single step from checking your budget to getting the keys in your hand with no fluffs, no sugarcoating, and let's get into it. First step is for you to know your budget. That's the foundation. Before you look at houses, you need to know exactly what you can afford. So start with your income. Lenders usually would offer 4 times to 4.5 times of your salary. So if you earn something around 30,000, you might be able to borrow up to £135,000. For joint income like £60,000 per year, maybe you'll be able to borrow 270,000 for for that kind of type of property that you're willing to go into. And the second thing is that you need a deposit, so a minimum of 5% of the house price. For instance, 12,500 for a 250,000 home. And you need to bear in mind as well that for better interest rate, just aim for 10 to 15%. So that would be your first thing for you to look at, understanding your budget before anything else. So now you've established your affordability. So the next thing for you to do is for you to find a mortgage calculator. You can use websites like Money Saving Expert, or maybe is it Habito, to estimate, what is affordable per month, not just the total price. So don't forget these hidden costs as well. The solicitor fees can range around 800 to about 1,500. The surveyor fee can be around 300 to 1,000. Stamp duty is 0% up to about 425K for the first time buyers, but then that will go up if it's your second property. You pay a lot more. And the broker's fees could be around 300 to 1,000 if you're not using the free one. And removal, we spend about 3.5 grand. We rented 2 trucks to move us, so it can be very expensive. Don't forget the building insurance, new furnitures. We brought some of our old furniture here, though we had to change them. So bear in mind the costs as well. So your ideal price should be around 10 to 15% lower than your maximum approval. So to allow for bidding wars and maybe emergencies as well as fees. So bear that in mind. So the next step would be for you to get a mortgage arrangement in principle. And this is your golden ticket to home viewing. So it's a letter or email from a bank or broker showing how much you're likely to be loaned, and is based on soft credit check and also your income details that you input there. So, and also it lasts for 60 to 90 days. So it's not a guarantee that the mortgage is going to be granted to you. So use brokers like L&C, tussle to compare offers, and avoid sticking to your current bank. People do that sometimes. They think, okay, I've been banking with Halifax for the past 25 years, I'm gonna go with them. It's not always the case. Make sure you shop around. So the step number 3 is house hunting. Now the emotional part begins. Use sites like Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market. I find them very, very useful. Set your filters, obviously the maximum price, the location, whether it's freehold or leasehold, the number of bedrooms, if you want gardens, if you want patio, if you want parking, transportation, schools, all that. You can search the area as well. So it's important for you to do your due diligence. Make sure that you're doing your research. Check, your crime map, school rating, commute time, local forums, what's available. Drive around, visit at night, check noise levels. Obviously, if you live locally, like for us, we didn't live in Manchester. We just did our research, and also check for common bias traps like leaseholds, with sky high service charges. I mean, like in our flat in London, the service rate, service charge is very, very high. Home as well, near busy roads or trains or schools, you need to make sure that you check that out. Very important, because I see some of the homeowners near schools, how much they suffer. There's nothing they can do. They live near school. That's what it is. I mean, it's only there like for a couple of maybe minutes, and then it's quiet again. But if you can tolerate that, or maybe you're close to a train station, if it's you want somewhere quieter, it's important for you to visit. And also look out for newly refurbished property, hidden structures. Some of them have issues like with damp problems, mold. So my advice is, don't rush into first nice looking property. View at least 5 to 10 to get a proper feel. And then when you're happy, then you can go ahead with it. So now is the viewing times, and there are a couple of questions that I put together that I think is really crucial for you to ask during the viewing time. So bring a checklist, and there's some questions I'm just going to mention for you to bear in mind. For instance, if it's an older property, ask how old the boiler is, unless it's a new property. So the second question is, when was the roof last replaced? If it's an old property, and is there any damp? Check obviously behind the furnitures. People tend to hide that. They don't want people to see. Ask about parking. Is it free? Do you have to pay for it? Broadband speed, is it very, very slow? Is there a problem with it? Being days, you need to know all these questions, and that's for maybe older properties. And for leasehold, you need to ask how many years are left on the lease. Don't get too excited and forget to ask this, because sometimes it's really difficult to sell when the lease is much lower. And ask how much is the ground rent, service charge. Man, we're dealing with that in London for our property in London. The service charge is quite high. They would bring different service charge, which I don't even know what they're doing, to be honest. I mean, they come up with different things that they're doing that I don't have an idea. They tell you that, and 1 minute telling they're owing you, is a mess. Anyway, so take pictures, videos every time, and obviously, houses starts to blur together when you viewed so much. So take pictures so that you can review back to it. So there's some hidden struggles as well, like buyers regret rushing in. Essentially, 1 in 5 first-time buyers wish they had asked more questions. So very important, ask loads of questions so that you don't make any mistakes that you might actually regret later on. Step 5, now it's time for you to make an offer. Offers are made through the estate agent. You can go on the asking price if the property has been sitting there for weeks, and if you are a chain-free first-time buyer, or there are obvious issues from the viewing, so you can do that. If multiple buyers, you might be asked for best and final offer. The struggles is another buyer swooping in the last minute and bidding wars that stretch your budget. Pressures from estate agent for you to make a decision straight away. Move fast. Be polite but be firm. Don't let anyone put you under pressure. Put everything in writing, and don't show how emotional invested you are with that particular property if it's something, because if not, you might just be swindled. So be very careful. So the sixth step is for you to obviously accept the offer. Legal work would start around this time. This is where delays, stress, and miscommunication often begin. So hire a solicitor or a conveyancy. So this will do that. They actually do the searches and check for the contract, and they liaise with sellers, and they will do searches like local authority planning, like roads as well. They will check the water and drainage, environmentals like the flood risk and land contamination. And there may be hidden costs as well, leasehold like £300 extra for legal fees, and search packs like, 250 to about £400. So it can take around 8 to 12 weeks or longer if it's part of a chain situation. So chase your solicitor weekly and ask for updates and timeline. It can be stressful, but you get through it. Step 7 is that now, by this time, your mortgage offer has been, you've accepted it, and there is the stage of survey and evaluation. Your lenders obviously will now do a hard search check on you and send a surveyor for evaluation, basic one for lenders only. And you should pay for your own survey. Home buyers reports about 400 to 500. I think that's what we paid. The surface issues. Structural survey will be around 700 to 1,000, depending if you're doing a deep dive on older properties, And bear in mind, there are hidden dangers as well. A bad survey might reveal damp, really bad damaged roof, or maybe Japanese knotweeds, because they're very difficult to get rid of. So bear in mind, it's important for you to do, those kind of searches. So use survey results to then negotiate price if major issues are found. If there's a, Japanese knotweed, people know what that is, you could obviously get your price reduced as a result of that, because it's going to take you time to treat the environment. If the roof is leaking or is damaged or whatever it is, you can then use that to get a better price if you're happy to go ahead with the property. Step 8, it's time to exchange the contract. Yay! So once all legal work and mortgage is sorted, you pay the deposit, so 5 to 10%, like I said. Agreed completion date is established, and both parties would sign, identical contracts. And from this point, you're legally bound. Pulling out equals huge fees. So be very sure about exchanging the contract. So make sure your deposit and insurance are ready. So confirm everything via email and phone. All right. Now, step 9 is the completion day. This is the moment you have been waiting for, right? Your solicitor transfers the final funds. You get a phone call. Keys are ready for you to pick up. You pick up your keys from estate agents, and make sure you remember to take your meter readings, check your locks, and update your address. Okay. Final tips for you to watch out for is leasehold traps. So avoid short lease under 90 years, and watch for ground rent doubling clauses. Be very, pay attention to that. Another thing is shared ownership schemes. The lower entry cost, but rent increases. Reselling the property, there might be a lot of restrictions and fees also to staircase ownership. That's another problem that you might encounter if you're going through that route, the shared ownership. There's always some kind of, restrictions around it. And for new builds, they might look perfect, but snagging issues is common. When we moved here, we had at least 2 years. The first 2 years, any snags that you raised, we hired professional snaggers post moving in for them to do the snagging for us. We paid around £500 for them to come and do that due diligence. So all the snaggers, all the stuff that were snagged, we passed it on to the estate agent and the developers, and they came and they sorted all that problems for us. So you can actually get professional snaggers to come in and do snagging before and after we moved in. So bear in mind, for the new builds, sometimes some people struggle with getting their developers to actually sort out the snags that they've raised. And if you do have issue, there's MBC is a body that governs the estate agent, the developers, so you can actually raise it with them if they're not doing anything about it. And if you're an immigrant or non-UK resident, you can also buy, but you need 15 to 25% deposit and a proof of UK income. All right. My final advice is don't rush, don't panic. Don't panic buy. Stick to your budget, ask questions, get everything in writing. The process can be so long and it can be quite frustrating, but it's worth it. Owning your own home gives you a security, freedom, and a foundation for your future. So take your time, and when you get those keys, it will finally worth it. This video has helped you understand how to buy your first house here in the UK. Hit the like button, subscribe, put your notification, and share with your friends or anyone who's looking to buy a property here in the UK. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.